Ladies and gentlemen, that's how I wrote my speech, but apparently the protocol is not observed in this place. How is everyone doing? I hope you're not as anxious as I am. Well, have you ever heard someone who believed in you more than you believed in yourself? No one in the room? Thank you. Some people can relate. Well, please allow me today to delve with you deeply in this topic of owning your growth. And please walk with me through the words of the intensity of the heartache that you feel depends on what you think. And this is because I would like to relate it to what one philanthropist said when he said that some people spend their time building breaches around themselves building walls around themselves instead of bridges to help them. And how does this relate to what I had said before? Firstly, this is because the way one thinks really affects how they see themselves and how they see the world around them. And this ultimately influences the way they live. This is also being fueled by what they constantly think. And what a person constantly thinks is the diet for their mind that has been fed by the things that we constantly see, hear. And at the end of the day, this is also fueled by self-investment. So if you have less time on self-investment, ultimately whatsoever you hear people saying or see around the world will predominate the influence of the lifestyle that you live. Have you ever, I was thinking the other day whilst preparing the speech about how the silent voices always get to fill up the blanks in our lives with negativity. Have you ever passed through people and then they began to laugh at that very instant when you were passing by? Or you went by and someone was frowning and then you began, yes, the rumor has it, it's confirmed. That girl really hates me, or she's been talking about me. Then the next thing that you do when you get into your room, you'll be like, friend, it's confirmed. I met them. I saw them with my eyes. They were talking about me. What makes you so sure that they were talking about you? To me, it tells me that the negativity is what is predominating that person's thoughts, such that everything they see around them aligns with the thoughts that they have. Therefore, what do we have to do? I believe, and I have noted how the lack of self-confidence emanates from our thoughts, and from time to time it gets to coincide with external events that then get to agree with the negativity, which begins to amplify, and being backed up by your perception of whatsoever you may be thinking and feeling that is negative, it then results in that person blaming and fearing people. But that is wrong, because it then leads to people shrinking away instead of bringing out the potential that they have into the world. Being in that class that day, I couldn't face the crowd because I thought people felt that way, but I wasn't sure that they really did feel that way. Or probably they were just ready to listen to what I had to say. What then can we say? It is important to tell yourself the truth and grind over it. The truth sometimes may be not what we want to hear, but if it's the truth, grind over it. If you hate it, try to change to become what you'd love about yourself. And if you cannot change it, enjoy the benefit or the advantage that it gives to you. Nothing on this world ever gets to be purely bad, except for some extreme cases. So enjoy that to the extent that it lives on, so that we can live with the true you that you present into this world. So growing up, I've been told there was this man who, lacking attention from the village from which he lived, he decided that he's going to pull the stunt and tell the people, because they were experiencing some drought, that there was a truck bringing by water. So he got to the first man, and then he lets him know that there is this truck, and it's delivering water. So being in the clustered village, in the outskirts of the country, the news circulates so fast and everyone begins to pick buckets, get themselves going to get this water. And so as this man watches everyone on the rush, telling the next person to be running because time is not on their side, before they know it will be gone, he then begins to think, why did they listen to me today? Is it that it's truth? So he then begins to run himself, knowing that he had lied about it, but because he had told so many people this lie, the lie then becomes like it's true to himself. So I've seen that the moral of this story shows that at some point in time, the more you lie about yourself or about something to the next person, you will then get convinced by that lie. And at the end of the day, you then live out of that lie. So we have to be satisfied with ourselves. Live to who you are and work out on yourself. Take it easy, but be firm with yourself. I have realized how the world can help you to the extent that you allow it to help you. The ball is in your court, and the world can help you to the extent that you're helping yourself. Most of the time, people come up with excuses, and the excuses can be as valid to the extent that you want it to be valid. And the next person can help you by simply understanding that whatsoever excuse you are giving could be probably valid. But at the end of the day, the job is not done. You still have to do the work. And what does that do? It just pushes you to that corner of having to repeatedly face having to work against so much pressure because so much has been delayed. Now, coming to TEDxUWCMaastricht, you know, when a person has to come to this new place, you have to think of a lot of things, and I had checked the box of numbing my brains with all the negativity that I could expect coming into a different place, so that just in case it happens, I do not have to be negatively and extremely affected. And however, to the detrimental effect of my great positivity, I had so much hope, such that even when I was applying to this place, I said that I am applying to this place because I have hope. Hope that one day all humanity will realize that we are different so that we could complement and complete each other, and not that we can compete with each other. So in such a space, I believe I'll be nurtured to learn about different perspectives and from different perspectives themselves. And then I got to learn, to my greatest surprise, that positivity is great, but be logical, because negativity exists in this world, and sometimes you cannot do anything about it. You just have to work around protecting yourself. So, on the first week, we are having the welcome week in this place, and what happens is that we have the speed date. We're in the big gym, everyone is there. I'm already shrinking because my social batteries were running really low. There were so many people, so much noise, and there is so much culture shock during that week. And then we get to this point, first person goes by, second person goes, and then second to last, this fella comes. We have to greet and share who we are. And I'm also excited to learn about these people. So I'm keeping myself there because I also want to learn about different people and make new friends. And then I realized that, okay, this person in front of me, he's a bit weird. I'm sorry to use that word. But the more we talk, he seems to be stepping backwards. And then I figure out probably he's more shy than I am. And I take the initiative. We exchange greetings. I ask him, what is your name? As we were doing, what is your name? Where are you from? And he shares, and as expected, he also asks me. And then I share who I am. He then steps 2 steps backwards, and then a lot more steps forward while saying that you are too black for me. And at that very spur of moment, I felt like the walls were expanding and the noise was becoming even more louder, but I had to keep it intact because there were a lot more people to look and hear from. So After that, trying to deny the fact that I'm being affected by whatsoever this person is. I really do feel different in this space right now, and I can actually feel the intensity of the foreign air, and everything is now becoming larger in my perspective. But I try to pull myself together and keep on going. I then got to learn and realize that the saddest part about such incidents, especially when they meet up with sort of lack of self-esteem with you, they just get to amplify everything and push you straight into the self-pity cell. I call it the self-pity cell because it's not nice in there, and I can testify to that. You begin to realize all your weaknesses, and all your worries get to amplify so much, such that even the tiniest mistake that you make when speaking, you just then decide to rub yourself off and be like, what can I do? Because I can barely even speak so well. So I get to sit through that time and fight self-pity, which, by the way, I would say that facing self-pity is great, and especially after that lesson that I learned that day when I was picked to speak in front of such a loud class, is that it's important to face your fears head on. Well, sometimes you have to face them whilst facing down with great anxiety, but at the end of the day, face the fear. The story will change next time. It gets to be a step at a time, and you're drawing closer to that. Now, going over the idea of being too black, I've been so amazed to the intellect of this world because I had to sit through this idea of having colored people and think, do we have non-colored people or people of no color? And when I searched through Google, Google tells me that the absence of color is black, but the people who predominate, the people who are of color, are black people. But it's what the world has classified people of color and non-color. And going through that idea of having this colored and non-colored people, I got to the point of questioning the idea of identity as well as freedom at large. And Tata Nelson Mandela, in his book, The Long Walk to Freedom, attests to this work that needs to be done in terms of being free. He recounts of his first time boarding a plane that had a black pilot. He says that upon realizing that the pilot was a black man, he had a great surge of insecurity because he didn't trust him because he was black. And then he instantly reminded himself that that is what he was fighting for. To me, that is an express attestation of the work that had to be done beyond the political freedom that was done, not only to just the African countries, but in most part of the world which have been affected by colonialism. And I believe that this work has to be done in both parties, the former oppressors and the former slaves, because I have realized that there are some things that are part of our day-to-day culture that show how much this idea of black minority or a certain group being the minority and white superiority have been ingrained into the way we live. For example, our languages, the way we speak, especially from the part where I come from, I have really noted how our language, the way we speak, clearly shows that there is so much fear that we have within us. Whereas when I compare it to certain people of certain cultures, I realize that there is so much leadership and being on top of the game that they show through their lives. Now, particularly in relation to the idea of identity, I've gotten to really hate the word race. I'm sorry to use the word hate, but I've realized how, because of its connotations and the historic events that encompasses it, the definition of identity, including race, is on its own dividing and restricting a lot of people. Why? Because always when there is a race, there is always the scramble to prove might and to compete. And as the idea is, as humans, if we're competing, what are we competing to get? And who is winning? We are different to complement each other. You may prove great at the end of the day, but the fear or the suffering of the next person will definitely affect you to a detrimental effect. Now, I always find the complexity of humanity so fascinating. I mean, we've done so much work since the late 1900s or even 200 years ago. I believe people who lived in those days, they wouldn't have imagined that at some point in time, people from different continents will actually meet. There will be screens, there will be such lights. But we've done so much, and that is so great. We owe ourselves an applause for that. But now here's the amazing thing, that in all these ventures that we've embarked on, we have worked so well and thoroughly in delaying the inevitability of death as the penultimate of human. But there hasn't been any success in surmounting that. Now, in the event of death, I've found these words, and a couple of other people have realized how we always word the announcement. People will be like, so-and-so is no more, so-and-so is gone. But do we really understand what we mean? Well, today I will not look at where to has this person left to, but I would look at who, because people will say, he's gone, he's no more, but the person will be there filling the casket. So that tells me that really all animals are equal, because if what tells whether I'm alive or dead is the same for everyone, then a person is simply more than what we get to look at, their physique or whatsoever physical attributes that may get to describe who they are. Therefore, today, in owning your growth, I stand with the words that at the end of the day, the goal of a person may be served on earth, and let us live to leave a mark. But after all, when death has met you, what gets to live on is either the chaos that your life on earth caused, or the tranquility that your life on earth brought, and the people will live to celebrate that. But beyond that, what can we do? We can live to leave a mark on earth and do all the best that we can do to make the world worthwhile for everyone. Thank you.